Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another session in the series of Univariety webinars. I am Soumya Tripathi, your academic counselor, and will walk you through the session. Before we begin with the session, let us have a quick look at the control panel. Towards the right-hand side of the screen, you can see a small orange button with an arrow made. This, when clicked on, can show and hide the control panel. The blue button with a square made in it will take you to the full screen mode of the presentation, and in case you have a question, you can raise your hand. You can do so by clicking on the button that has a palm made on it and is just below the full screen button. Also, you can type your questions in the text box below that. Today's session is about visas. By popular belief, this is one of the most dreaded steps in realizing one's dream of studying abroad. However, this can be a cakewalk if we are aware of the process and the requirements. So let us now begin with the Viva Woes and how to go about simplifying them. Let us have a short introduction as to what is a visa. Essentially, a travel visa is a document that shows you are allowed to enter a specific country for a specific length of time to do a specific thing such as tour or study or work. This visa is your entry or the residency permit, which usually appears as a stamp in your passport. Countries would like to have an organized accounting of people leaving and entering their territories. This is a good way of controlling who gets in and who goes out. Most of the reasons for doing so is security. But before we look at the visas, it is important that we know what passports are. Passports are another essential official document one citizen is required to have. Citizens, when they apply for a passport, they need to prove that they are citizens of the said country by birth or acquired citizenship. Visa, on the other hand, is a type of permission which lets the owner of the passport to enter, study, work, or do business. Visas also have a similar universal format so that other countries can read and understand such visas. The basic difference between a visa and a passport is that a visa specifies certain reasons why the person will be staying in the country, and a visa also specifies a certain time frame. I hope you people have gotten an understanding of what is a visa and what is the difference between a visa and a passport. Moving on to who needs a visa now. If you are traveling out of the country, you might need a visa for your trip. Whether you need a visa depends upon where do you want to go. Most students going on programs for 90 days or longer need a visa. Some programs of shorter durations also need visas. Most of the time, visas are granted to people who work or plan to attend school in a nation for a select amount of time. It is not permitted to attend an educational facility in the country without holding a student visa, even if border control has provided you with the authorization of a lengthy stay. This visa is required for more or less every type of study. Visitor visas are not sufficient for this purpose. Even if actual study in a country is for a very short period of time, such as a few weeks on the campus as a part of maybe a distance learning qualification, the individual must apply for a visa. Moving on from here to what are the various types of visas that one can have or apply for. There are various types of visas that a foreign national may apply for to be lawfully admitted into the foreign country, either temporarily or permanently. A few of the commonly utilized visas are: number 1, tourist visa or visitor visa. Such a visa is available to all the visitors coming to the country for business or for pleasure. These visas are for a short duration and must not involve local employment. The second type is specialty occupation or professional visas. The professional workers may be eligible for a non-immigrant visa if their employers can demonstrate that they are to be paid at least the prevailing wage for that particular position. The third type of visa that we can learn about are the exchange visitor visas. Now, people coming to a country in an approved exchange program may be eligible for the exchange visitors visa. These programs often cover students, short-term scholars, business trainees, teachers, professors, and even research scholars. The next type of visa, and the one that needs the most attention from us, is the student visa. People seeking to pursue a full course of study at a school in a country may be eligible for a visa for the course of their study plan. In some cases, a period for practical training in their field of study. Once they've been accepted, they will be given necessary approval documents to submit while applying for the student visa. The last type of visas that we can also talk about are the permanent residency visas, which are more popularly called as the PR visas. Permanent residency refers to a person's visa status. The person is allowed to reside indefinitely within a country of which he or she is not a citizen. Not every country necessarily has a facility for someone to be a permanent resident. Rights in applications vary widely all over the world. The next most important thing that we need to do is that we need to pay some attention on various countries and their visa process flows. When hunting for visa applications online, you will want to start at the embassy or the consulate website for the nation you are visiting. That means that whenever you wish to apply for a particular kind of a visa, the first thing that you need to do is that you need to go to that country's consulate website or the embassy website. For example, India will have a consulate website for USA. Similarly for UK. So the students need to visit that website. We are going to look at the student visa process for 3 major countries: US, UK and Singapore. Some of you might even look at other countries than these. However, if you understand the visa requirements and processes for these 3 countries, you will fairly be able to understand the visa process in general, which is more or less similar in terms of rules and regulations. Let us start with the first country, which is United States of America. This country stands to be the dream destination for a lot of us and for a lot of courses as well. However, the visa process for this particular country needs a lot of attention. That we need to talk about it. Let us begin. Before you can even think of applying for a visa to the USA, you need to first get accepted onto a course and enrolled in the facility of your choice. It is possible to plan ahead to help you organize your travel plans. A USA student visa can be issued as much as 120 days in advance of your course start date, although you won't be permitted to actually enter the country until 13 days before. The very first thing that you need to start with is, after a college, university, or an English language institution has accepted your admission to full-time study, the school will send you a document which will be called as an I-20 form, which is the application for the F1 visa. That is the first step. Once you've gotten this, second, you will need to make an appointment for a visa interview and to pay some required fees under a revision in the regulations also. There is a $200 fee which supports the cost of computer system used to record your stay in the United States. Now this is also called as the SEVIS, which you can see here as the second process. You can pay this fee with a credit card that is valid internationally. You can go to the website and pay the fee and make sure you print a copy of your receipt. The website that you can visit is https://fmjfee.com/index.html. You must pay the service fee at least 3 days before the date of your visa interview. Bring a copy of the receipt to your visa interview. You will also be needed to pay an additional $160 for the visa application fee in your country at the US Embassy or the consulate, or at the bank that the embassy designates. Specific information on where to pay the visa application fee can be found at the website of the US Embassy in your country. The United States is using a new non-immigrant visa application form, which is also called as the DS-160. This should be completed online. This form can be found at https://ceac.state.gov/GENNIV/. I hope you have made a note of the URLs that I've told you. Next that you need to do is that you need to prepare for your visa interview. It is extremely crucial that you apply for your visa well in advance of the date your studies begin. If possible, please apply 3 months before you plan to travel to the USA. This will give you extra time if there are delays at the embassy or if you wish to appeal a decision in the event of a denial. Once a visa is approved, which you get to know almost at the same time, you should receive your visa within a few days. Moving on, the next thing that we need to be aware of are the documents that are required. Now, the documents that we require are a DS. Now, while you're doing your visa, it is then that you will be requiring these documents. A DS-160 confirmation page, an appointment confirmation page, original passport, TOEFL scores, SAT or even ACT scores, bank statement, affidavit of support, transcripts, that is all your mark sheets, I-20 acceptance letter, proof of service registration and fee payment, visa application fee receipt, bank statements for the last 3 months, visa application form, valid passport, admission letter, academic documents, and evidence of financial stability. Next, the next country that we will have a look into is the United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom, you can apply as a student visitor, provided you are at least 18 years old and you want to study in the UK for up to 6 months. As a student visitor, you are not allowed to work and you cannot switch your visa to extend your stay as a Tier 4 student. Short-term study visas do not fall under the Tier 4 point-based system. Let us begin with the process that you need to follow to apply for a visa in the UK. If you have gained an unconditional offer at a university, you can just apply for a Tier 4 category visa which is built on point-based system. The majority of international students from outside the European Union will need a permit to study in the UK. You will basically need 40 points to be granted a visa. You can achieve these points by meeting the following criteria. Number 1, by holding a valid confirmation of acceptance of studies. This is also called as a CAS. For having acceptable English language skills, which you can justify through an IELTS examination. Third, for having enough money to cover your fees and living standards. Your confirmation of acceptance for studies confirms that you've been given an unconditional offer of a place on a course of study with a licensed Tier 4 sponsor. Confirm if the details in your CAS checking documents are correct by following the on-screen instructions. Your CAS number will be sent to you by email upon completion of this process. Prepare your financial evidence and original documents as well. Ensure that funds are held for 28 consecutive days before you apply for your visa. Complete your online visa application form at www.gov.uk/apply-uk-visa. The next that you need to do is that you need to submit your completed visa application. As a part of the online visa application, you will book an appointment to attend in person and submit your documents. The kind of documents that you would require are a visa application form, a valid passport, a CAS, which is confirmation of acceptance for studies, an IELTS or a TOEFL score sheet, academic documents, and bank statements for 28 days. I hope you're making a note of all of this. The next country that we can look into is Singapore. In Singapore, every visa is referred to as a pass. That means a permission. So, the visa for Singapore as destination is called as the student pass. It is no different from the visa. It's just that the nomenclature has gotten changed. After receiving the offer letter from the desired institute for a particular course, you as a student need to apply for student pass to enter Singapore. Institutes in Singapore will file the Singapore student pass for Indian application on behalf of the student to the Singapore Immigration and Checkpoint Authority, which is also called as the ICA. Singapore student pass application fee varies from institute to institute. Normally, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get the Singapore student visa pass. As per the Singapore student visa rules, candidate has to show funds which must be minimum 1 day old from the date of visa application. The next and the most important thing that we need to be aware of while filing for a visa are the do's and the don'ts. A lot of times we ignore this and get into trouble. Let us enumerate them. The first point that you need to remember is that different countries have different formalities that you need to follow before you are granted a student visa. Make sure that you are aware of these requirements. You cannot apply for a visa without knowing the exact procedure. That means a lot of research is necessary. Number 2, don't leave out any information in the application. Make sure that you fill up everything that you have been asked for. And not just filling up is required, accurate and complete disclosure is essential. You cannot choose to fill up the wrong kind of information and go along. Third point, If you're not able to explain your reasons why you will study in a particular program in the country, you might not succeed in convincing the consular officer that you are indeed planning to study, rather than to work or stay there. Such questions will be put forward to you during the visa interview. This is the most crucial of all the stages while applying for a visa. Students, if they are not able to reason out why do they want to go to that particular country, are often refused the visas. The next point, you should be able to show that you have reasons for returning to your home country that are stronger than reasons for remaining in the foreign country. The last piece of advice that I would want to put forward to all of you is that do not work for more than 20 hours per week during the term time. You're not allowed to be doing that. I hope these points will have gotten registered in your mind and you shall work accordingly. This brings us to an end of today's presentation and session. I would now like to invite all of you for questions. Dear attendees, I can see a few hands raised there. Okay, I can see that Komal has put in a lot of questions. Komal wants to know what is the difference between a visa and a passport. Sure, Komal, I would repeat that for you. As I said, passports are an essential document that a citizen requires. Citizens, when apply for a passport, they need to prove that they are the citizen of a certain country by birth or by acquired citizenship. However, visa is basically a permission which lets the owner of the passport to travel to another country. This visa usually is shown on the passport in form of a stamp. So the basic difference is that whereas a passport is a document that any person can carry in a certain in a country of his residence, visa is always applied for a specific reason. It specifies a certain reason as to why does that person needs to travel to a different country and for what time will he be traveling to that particular country. Okay, another question from Komal is that how much time does it take for a US visa? Komal, it is advised that students can apply anytime 120 days before. So you must adhere to that timeline so that just in case there is a problem or any documentation or any appeal that you need to make, you have enough time for that. So I suggest that if at all you are in the process of applying for a US visa, please do that 120 days before your course has to begin. Can I have more questions, please? Okay, again Komal says that, okay, I think she's got a lot of questions there. Yes, Komal, you need to complete your school to go abroad. And you cannot work with a student visa in the country. So if you're traveling to a different country, you cannot work with a student visa. Hi Ayush, please may I know your question? You already sent the question. Can you please send your question once more, Ayush? Okay, it's you who had asked that for going abroad, we have to complete school. Yes, Ayush, if you wish to go abroad, you need to complete school. And yes, Komal, if you're planning to study in a country which is different from India, you will have to apply for a visa. And that visa will be called as a student visa. Do we have more questions? Can I see more hands raised? I can see Elizabeth. She's raised her hand. Anuradha. Can I please have questions from the two of you as well? Okay, Elizabeth. Hi, can we know the cost of the US or UK visa? Elizabeth, I suggest that you please send your query to us in a mail. That would be more helpful. You can write to us at guideme@univariety.com. You can see the email ID here. I would request you to please give me your question in a mail so that I can answer it. You need to understand, I will also explain to you the UK visa procedure again in that. However, the fee stands to be, the service fee for US is $200 and the visa fee is $160. Since you're asking the UK visa procedure to be explained again, I would request you to please write down a mail to us at guideme@univariety.com so that Ayush, yes, it is similar for Australia with a few changes. The documentation is named differently, so that needs to be considered. Shrishti, you've put up a question that says, can we go abroad for further studies? Yes, you can go abroad for further studies after you've completed your school. But you need to start planning really soon. I suggest you speak to your parents. Okay. Komal is here with a question. Ma'am, after education visa, can we apply for job visa thereafter? Please tell. There is a different procedure to do so. Yes, you can do so. You can work there, but the procedure for that is different. You will not be allowed to work in a different country such as maybe a UK or a US or a Singapore under the student visa. I have been trying to answer most of your questions. I will invite more questions from you and would ask all of you to please write to us at guideme@univariety.com for any further question. I'm glad that I could solve a few questions here on this platform. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. There is another series of webinar that is to come in the month of July. I hope to see all of you there as well. Thank you so much.